Record. Sarah Thomas, welcome to the deep end.
Hey guys.
Hi.
This is exciting.
Yes, thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah.
Excited to confirm that you would join us for our conversation about the North Channel and the adventures that happened out there.
So many adventures.
Yeah. Yeah, so what we're trying to do is just really help other people build a picture of what it takes to swim the North Channel, and in this case swim it two-way, which is absolutely unbelievable. The first person ever to see that doing that, they'll only be the one first, as they say. Fantastic achievement, Sarah. Just mind-boggling, really. It's mind-boggling for people to swim the North Channel one way, or even to contemplate taking it on, but to swim it two-way is just absolutely incredible. Even for someone like ourselves that are on the North Channel all summer and love being on the North Channel, to see someone succeed doing it two-way was magnificent. It really was just beauty, if you can call it that.
Yeah, it was pretty rough, not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Well, we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Just painting the lovely picture. Sarah,
it was beautiful.
this story goes back a few years. I know we had our eyes on you to create what we knew would be the shape of the infinity eye, or we had hoped. We had succeeded as a relay, and we created that almost figure eight shape. So my eyes were on you and our target, because not only your massive successes in open water and long distance, but then the success on the English Channel, which then I was like, it's her, it has to be Sarah. Now, so talk us through the journey before the journey. So we've been in touch with you. It just wasn't the right space for you, and almost and respectfully a fear of the North Channel.
Yeah. I would say for years, people would ask me, like, Sarah, are you planning to do the Ocean 7? And I would always say very adamantly, no, I'm not, because there's no way I could do the North Channel. It's for, I mean, years and years, it's been a swim that I've been afraid of in a lot of ways. I've, heard the really scary horror stories of people who have come and, the North Channel beats them every time. And just hearing those stories, it made it seem to me like a swim that was probably like impossible for me. Really terrified of the cold and the jellyfish and just all of the things that could go on in the North Channel. So I had it off my list. It was one of those swims that I was never even contemplating that I might come and do. It was a hard no for a long time.
Capitals.
Yeah, like, yes, it was like an absolute, like, absolutely not. I will not be going to the North Channel. Yeah, and then Jacqueline reached out to me. And I was like, no, I still don't think I can do this. And then
your first message, and I was like, Pádraig, I've got a message from Sarah, and he's like, okay. That you were willing to entertain it, which was wonderful.
Yeah, it did. It took, I don't even know what really shifted. I think truly it was hearing from people like Caroline who love it. Like, yes, there's the horror stories and crazy things happen, but then there's also a lot of people who have come and been successful, and they say it's just the most beautiful water and like it's a magical stretch, of ocean. And so there has to be some truth to that. And I suppose along the way, I'm just like curious, like, okay, maybe there is something there. And wanted to, like, okay, maybe I'll think about it.
Yeah. And can you remember back the deciding factor, or the decision making the decision to say, okay, let's have a go here?
You know, you have to give credit to Jacqueline for, like really just not pushing it in like an aggressive way, but just kind of, like a little bit of nudges here and there. And I mean, I think she nudged in just the right way. And then just hearing truthfully about like the professionalism of Infinity overall, and just taking care of their swimmers. I think that gave me a little bit more confidence, that it's not like crazy, not the Wild West out there. You guys kind of have, something really good going on. And so to feel like, okay, maybe I'm, at a better place in my swimming experience, there's a good group that will definitely support me, make sure that I don't die. And then truly it was talking to some other swimmers who have been there and done it, like Caroline, like Amy Goopser, and just getting okay, maybe it's possible, maybe I don't have to be quite so scared. Because I mean, I'm telling you, I was terrified of the North Channel.
And at this stage, we're still only on a one-way journey. I mean, I know that was the commitment was there, and it was,
Yep.
okay, so let me build my speed. I want to create a good time. You go to Southend Rowing Club, you meet up with wonderful Amy and all the swimmers there. So yeah, you're committed now. So you're on this path, which was amazing for us.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I feel like I had to do a lot of like just mental preparations for the cold. I swam across Loch Ness in 2015, 2016, 2015. And that's cold. Loch Ness is cold. So I knew like there was probably the ability within me to like be cold and handle the cold temperatures, but it'd been a long time since I'd really had to push the envelope a little bit with cold water. And so I swam across Monterey Bay, which is in, California, just to like truly as a trial swim. Monterey Bay is known for being super rough. It's known for being cold. There's jellyfish. So in a lot of ways, I felt like it was the best I could get to the North Channel. And Monterey Bay was awful. I puked my way across. It was hard. But I did get out of it like, okay, if I could do this swim, maybe I can, keep working on the cold, and just maybe I'll be okay in the North Channel. And I went out to California in February. I did a 6-hour swim in San Francisco Bay. And the water was, I don't know, 50 to 52. It was really cold. And I remember, Amy Goopser's husband, had a boat for us, and she just jumped in like it was nothing, just dove right off the boat at 6 a.m. into the most beautiful sunrise. And I'm like, I don't think I can do this today. And it was, that training swim was hard. But I made it. I swam for 6 hours in February, without a ton of training, in super cold water. And then I was like, it was okay. I was barely shivery when I got out. So, I feel like if you do if you take the right steps, like you commit to something, and then like I knew eyes wide open what was going to go into needing to swim the North Channel. And so then you kind of plan for that, right? Like you have to just expect it to be the most miserable swim that you could ever get, and train to be absolutely miserable. And that's what I did.
I think a lot of people will find that comfort in what you're saying there. The 6-hour swim is hard, and even Sarah finds it hard and finds it head wracking, to get your head around it and get into the water and get it done. That will give some people faith, that they're on the right journey, and they're not just because they find it hard doesn't mean that someone like you finds it hard also, which is good.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing I hate more in the whole world than jumping off of a boat into cold water.
Yeah.
I much prefer to wade in nice leisurely pace. But when you're doing a channel swim, North Channel, English Channel, any of those you just have to cannonball off the side of a boat and call it good. So, it's really good practice to do those things that you hate, and that you're not sure if you can do it. And I think that's where the preparation comes from, right? It's mentally getting around those blocks that, you know, it's easy to tell yourself, no, I can't do that. But then to force yourself to do it and realize, hey, maybe I can do this. And a little easier when you've got some friends to support you and encourage you, and, you know, to know that they're going to pick you up if you might get a little hypothermic in the middle of the swim. But fortunately, that didn't happen.
You were you have great crew in your mum and Ryan. They never you never took their eyes off you throughout the whole swim.
It's like, can she see us? We're like, she's like an animal in the zoo.
How important is it for you to have the right crew with you for any of your swims?
Yeah, it's a good question. I feel like I'm really picky about who comes on swims with me. Sometimes people will say like, hey, I want to go with you. And the answer is like, probably not this one. And so, you know, sometimes I'll do other swims where I'm like, okay, maybe Ryan, I don't need you. You know, I can have just a friend who doesn't know me super well. But then there's swims, and I call them big kid swims. And so I'll tell Ryan, hey, this is a big kid swim. I need you. Because Ryan 100% is probably like the most solid support crew that you could ever have, right? He doesn't get seasick. You know, he's very calm in a crazy situation. I'm super lucky that I've got him. I feel like everyone needs to have some version of Ryan, whether it's like a friend or a family or whoever it is, who's just like down for staying up for crazy long amounts of time and not getting too alarmed when you're getting nailed with jellyfish. And then I love having my mom on board too. She's just a cheerleader in every sense of the way. I remember in some of my long swims, I've been just like super low and just like tired and like not feeling great. And my mom will come over and she's like, all right, let's go. And there's just something about her just like cheery mentality that gets you through, and that only a mother, I feel like, can bring.
Yeah.
So I feel lucky to have them both come along. Yeah, super important to have good people. And you have to know who those people are, right? You have to know the strengths that they bring, the weaknesses that they bring. And you have to sometimes you have to make hard calls and tell people, no, sorry, like this is not the swim that you can come on. And that's a really hard thing to tell people. But like at the end of the day, you want to be successful and you have to pick the right people on board with you.
Yeah, it's those people that can give you a kick in the ass when you need it, hug
Yeah.
you when you need it, or tell you, no, that this is
Yeah.
enough. And you respect our decision 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
So what was your typical training? You don't have, I'm sure you don't have typical training, not for what you've succeeded, but like what is a typical week when you're building up for a swim like the North Channel or a big swim, like a
Sure.
big boy or big girl or
Yeah, big kid swim.
big kid swim, yeah.
I will say kind of my general formula that I've used for years and years is I always tell people I do 6 weeks at 60K or more. And so that's kind of the expectation that I set for myself, is that I need to be able to build up to that and be able to train consistently at, 60 kilometers a week and get it done. And so that's what I did going into the North Channel, was upped my training. We drove a lot. Ryan was super great driving me up to like high altitude mountain lakes so that I could get in some really cold water training. And so, yeah, I would just, I work a full-time job. So, I train as much as I can during the week. And then Saturdays and Sundays are for long swims. So that we would drive up to the mountains and I would swim, 6 hours by myself in these mountain lakes while Ryan went fishing, which is kind of fun, kind of refreshing to just kind of have some peace and quiet. But, it was a lot of cold. It was a lot of alone time. It was a lot of like exploring, trying to find new lakes that maybe I hadn't been to kind of freshen things up. But yeah, it's a lot of high volume. I will say for the North Channel, I was really focusing on a lot of speed. I really wanted to make sure I had some just power behind me for this one, just to make sure I could run it pretty hard the whole way across.
How do you keep yourself injury free, or is your technique and your experience that good that you do, like, or what's your secret on them?
Yeah, that's a good question too. I always feel like I'm probably just lucky in that regards. I don't know that I do anything super special. And I've just never really had shoulder problems. I mean, I don't know. You've seen me swim more than I've seen myself swim, so I don't know if there's anything special going on, but definitely feel lucky that I'm able to withstand a pretty high volume of training without hurting anything.
There's certainly the feeling with you that you're at one with the water. That's what's lovely to see, and the time obviously that you spend in there is at peace with it, and maybe that's it. You're not fighting with it. You're moving with it, which is lovely.
Yeah.
That's what I guess I will say, that I do try and think about that, right? Like just feel the water, don't fight it. You know, I've swum in like crazy windy conditions before, and learned the hard way that you can't fight the wind. So you might as well just try and work with it the best that you can. So that probably does help for sure. I like the water. We're friends. We're intimately acquainted.
This stage, definitely. What do you do with your mind, or what tricks do you play with your mind, or how do you calm your mind during those long swims?
And I'd say a little bit of everything. You know, my favorite swims are when I'm truly not thinking about a single thing, right? Where you just try to clear it and you're not thinking about anything other than your stroke and the water, and you're just kind of at peace. That doesn't always happen, right? Sometimes you're getting nailed with jellyfish left and right, and you can't think about anything other than the jellyfish. And I will say probably the best trick that I try to do is truly just keeping myself present in the moment and not trying to think about what happened in the past and what's going to happen in the future. Anytime that I like struggle in a swim, it's because I'm either thinking too far ahead or I'm worried about what happened in the past, and I'm not staying fully present in the moment. Because I don't know, when you're stuck in the moment, right? 99% of the time you're okay in the moment, right? It's the fear of what's to come that's holding you back. And so if you're just, you know, okay, am I okay right now? Okay, maybe I'm not great, maybe I'm not super happy, maybe I'm kind of cold, but like, am I okay? And the answer is almost always, yeah, I'm fine, right? Like, I'm not happy, maybe I'm not having the greatest of times, but like, I'm actually fine. And as long as you can just like keep like, okay, I'm fine, I'm okay, and you just kind of keep that calm, like positive outlook, I think that helps you keep going, right? From next feed to next feed to next feed, rather than worrying about, oh gosh, like I'm really cold right now. There's no way I'm able to swim for like another 2 hours. Like I probably should just quit now, right? It's easy to start spiraling if you think too far ahead of yourself. And sometimes I do have to like whine about it and say, well, I can't do this. And it takes someone else like, Sarah, you're fine. You know, I think you guys did that for me in the North Channel a couple of times, where I was like, I don't got this. And it took a little bit of, you know, reminding, like, yeah, you got it. You're fine. Keep going.
So being yes, very much in the moment. You arrived to Ireland, Northern Ireland, and your mom and Ryan with you, and we met you in the Salty Dog. Not much time to sort of do any traveling or tourism. I think our weather was pretty kind in the early stages. So we're sitting having this meeting, and you're like, no, I'm not doing a two-way. No, I'm like, well, have a think about it.
Yeah.
So I know the bigger plan was you flew here with a one-way, but I hope underneath it or there was maybe that thought that you could achieve a two-way if it was possible, and not through discussions and tidal patterns with Pádraig and myself, it was starting to look promising. Mom still wasn't getting on board at that stage, I don't think.
No, I don't think she's still on board with it.
Much as it was wonderful to have her and her peaceful mindset, and she's very present as well. So when we committed to the two-way,
Did we?
well, did we? Did we? Then and there, I know you know where I was at. It was, this is going to happen. Pádraig sort of we planned it. How did it feel the night before? What was were you excited? Were you nervous?
Oh, I was scared.
You're still at this stage?
Yeah, no, I was. Yeah. You know, I came to Ireland with truly just the idea of a one-way. And then we got there, we did have to wait a little while for some weather. And it was like every day that I was getting in the water, you know, just to acclimate and train, and, you know, with the chunky dunkers, and, you know, it was just, the possibility started to be like, you know what, maybe I really could. And then, you know, no, I'm not going to do this. Like, that's a crazy idea. And then, like, it was like the longer we waited, I was like, you know what, I'm here. You know what, maybe I just need to try it. And then I do, you know, just remember, like, in my head, we would just, you know, start in Ireland and then swim to Scotland. And then if everything was going well, we would turn around and come back. And it wasn't going to work out that way. And so, you know, we had to kind of play with the weather window. Pádraig had to be kind of creative and think outside the box to even like set me up for a possible success. And that was terrifying, right? To be like, man, we're going to do this the hard way to start with. Like, am I sabotaging myself? Like, you know, like, this is going to be a hard swim to do no matter what. And now I'm going to do it backwards, and the weather might not be perfect. And like, what am I actually thinking? Like, this is maybe not the best idea I've ever had. And so truly, I remember just being very nervous, like trying to make sure I'm fueling correctly, trying to get enough rest. But like, it's hard when I was jittery, you know, like a little snippy, you know, like, this is going to be a little bit terrifying. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's sort of the way I remembered as well. So we're all on the boat, we're heading to Scotland, and like, everything that we had learned or practiced or went through with swims, particularly with the likes of Caroline Block or Dr. Caroline, and all the other swims that we started in Scotland, all were sort of leading to this path. And we got a glimpse of weather that we were hoping to get. We went for it. Jumping in the water, did your nerves disappear like within the first 10 minutes, or like, talk us over the start?
No. I would say, oh man,
And me to a beach and let me walk in. Well, that was a luxury.
yeah, that was nice. It was so nice. I remember Caroline watching a video of it, or she was like, where did you find a beach? I didn't even know that it existed. I'm like, I don't know, they found it. And there's a video, I think, Jacqueline, you took it, of me like sliding off the boat. And I remember thinking like, holy crap, here we go.
Oh, that looks miserable.
And it, you know, truly the water is beautiful. And so it's hard to like, okay, there might be these massive jellyfish coming for me, but the water's really pretty. And so I feel like for hours, that was kind of the space that I was in. Like, okay, this isn't terrible. Like, the weather's doing exactly what we predicted. Like, this is going according to plan, but where are these jellyfish? You know, like, when is it going to start really hurting? And so I think it was hard for me, especially maybe the first half of the first lap, just to like even settle in and just kind of feel relaxed and like I was like making a right choice. Because I just remember the whole time thinking like, I'm doing this the hard way. Like, I made a mistake. I made a mistake. And then the whole first lap, truly trying to evaluate if I wanted to make the turn. Because even in the middle of it, I was not fully committed to turning around when we got back to Ireland. And so the whole time, just like, am I going to do this? Do I want to do this? How cold am I? You know, I was getting stung a little bit by jellyfish, not a ton. I'm like, okay, is it going to be sustainable? You know, like, just truly the whole first lap was just like me trying to evaluate whether or not I thought I was capable of making a turn when we got to the other
In the
side.
dark as well. So obviously with your mind, then you had very little else to look at, only the space between your 2 ears of doing all the thinking.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, though I will say I was really grateful because the sun stays out so much later in the summer there. So I feel like it was only a few hours of true darkness, but that true darkness was hard. And as I started to get nailed by more and more jellyfish in the dark, couldn't see them, you know, like, it's just, they're coming at me, and who knows what is up ahead. You know, it was, you know, scary moments for sure.
So you landed or touched land in a wonderful time for the one way, 10 hours.
Yeah.
And a few change, 10:21 I think it was, or thereabouts. So
Yeah,
almost even
so fast.
record pace. It was fabulous. And we're pretty much a good bit north. We're at the Gobbins. And I know my very poignant memory was Ryan saying, she's getting this porridge at the turnaround, and we're not allowed to talk to her. The nutrition, obviously, like clockwork, the whole way across. You fed, you swam, you know, no issues, no complaints, no nothing. And you could literally put fists into your collarbones, where you had the decision making was still very much in the forefront of your mind. You were looking to land, you were looking to the boat, you were looking to us, and we're like, Ryan's like, don't talk to her, don't be talking to her.
Yep.
Give her the porridge and leave her. And that's
Yep.
exactly what we had to do. We had made it hot. Obviously, that was you knew that this was sort of that feed, and endured and absolutely savored it. But you still were undecided. We at that point we still were, okay, well, do you want to go home or do you want to keep swimming? And then we were like, no, that's it. We're not even deciding. We're going. Just move the boat.
Yep.
That's the quality of having crew that know you inside out. Ryan didn't give you the gap to quit.
Right.
I could be wrong in saying that.
It was
that's
exactly
what I
that.
felt.
Yeah.
He didn't give you the gap to sort of question anything, and he said, right, well,
Yeah, move the boat on. She'll throw the pot back on her way past. I think that was.
Yep.
And so you did.
Yeah, no, that was 100% it. You know, so I'm telling you, Ryan's amazing, but you know, we've done turns before, you know, that wasn't the first time I've turned.
No.
And so he kind of knows that rule is you don't give the option.
Yeah.
And you know, I think if anyone on that boat had asked me, do you want to get back on the boat right now? I would have said yes.
I get the
You know,
ladder.
I would have said, yeah, I think I'm done. I think I'm really good. You know, we had a really great lap number 1. I'm grateful. Let's just call it. But no one asked me that, you know, and I think that is key in those moments, because I'm not going to say it, right? It's just my mentality is I'm not going to ever be like, okay, I'm going to quit. But if someone asks you the question, and that makes it a lot easier to say, yeah, sure. You know what? That was a good day out. But we did, you know, I think he fed me some oatmeal. So I remember treading water there.
Congratulations!
Woohoo! Fantastic! Oh, great. Unbelievably brilliant! Oh, Sarah, amazing!
I don't know about this.
You're doing great.
Absolutely
10
brilliant.
hours and 5 minutes. They're pretty quick.
There was tons of lion's manes all around. I don't know if you guys remember this.
We do.
For my whole life, I will never forget, you know, we're swimming, it's still pretty dark. we're getting close to shore, and then the spotlight comes on. And all of a sudden, I could truly see what was around me. And I remember thinking, holy cow, like, what is happening right now? Like, this is the scariest jellyfish situation I've ever seen. So I touched the wall. I think I touched it with like one finger. I'm not even kidding. And then I'm like, back to the boat, like, get me out of this water, you know, and I'm treading water, deciding if I want to swim or not, thinking that like jellyfish are just gonna like come and swarm me at any moment. And everyone else on the boat's like, okay, let's go for a swim. Let's keep going.
Yeah. So to give people a bit of an idea of where you landed, it's probably about 150-foot black cliffs, black granite cliffs, and they're vertical. So you're touching a wall and in the darkness, it is pure black. Like,
Not a lot of land light at all.
Yeah. And then
Totally black.
jellyfish seems to love that area for whatever reason. It's really, really deep as well. Lots of birds in nesting in the cliffs, so it can be eerie at sometimes. And yeah,
Eerie. That's a perfect way to describe it. And you're asking me to stay in and keep going.
And beautiful at the same time when you see it in the daylight.
Yes.
And you did the goblins. It's this miraculous piece of nature altogether.
For sure.
so the feeling on the boat was quietly anyway that we weren't letting on anything or saying anything, but that we had just begun, that we had really just begun to swim. And the excitement internally in us all on the boat, not letting it out into your sight, like, was pretty electrifying on the boat. And we'd only been up for 10 hours and you'd made one way. You're colossal swimming, absolutely colossal swimming. And away you go again. Amazing. So when did you decide that you were going to go the second way? You know, after you turned, like, when did you admit to it?
Even still, I think, you know, I turned and I was like, well, we'll see how it goes. My really good friend Craig, his North Channel swim took about 15 hours. And so I remember thinking like, all right, he'll never let me live it down if he spent more time in the North Channel than I did. So my thought was, okay, I'll turn around and I'll swim at least until 15 hours. That way I can say to Craig, like, hey, I spent as much time as you did in the water. And so that was my only commitment when I turned, is like, okay, I'm gonna make it to about 15 hours and then we'll see what happens.
Craig Lemming.
Yeah.
So yeah, you were on a challenge to beat him. Wonderful.
Yeah. in a weird, twisted way, I suppose. But you know, I think that goes back to some of my mentality is like, sometimes things are just too big, right? And if you think about the whole thing all at once, it will overwhelm you, right? And you'll think that you can't do it. And even in this swim, I'm in the middle of it and I'm still overwhelmed by the idea of swimming all the way back. And so, you know, you asked me a trick earlier, you know, that trick sometimes is like, just break it down, right? So I was at 10 hours and like the next trick I'm playing on myself is just swim till 15 hours so that you can say you were in as long as Craig. Who knows what happens at 15 hours? I'm not thinking past that. I'm just thinking, okay, I'm gonna swim for another 5 hours. I feel fine. I'm gonna swim for 5 more hours. You know, and then you can, you know, reevaluate after the next 5 hours. And in my experience, maybe I don't want to, but every time I'm reevaluating, the answer is always, okay, we can keep going.
Yeah. For us, that period, the 2 or 3 hours after your turn were your most difficult performance wise. And I know we talked about this after, and again, Ryan's skill on board, the benefit of caffeine in your nutrition. It was so, you know, the clockwork of it, he knew what to do, he knew what to titrate up to allow you that hit, for want of a better word, of what worked for you. And obviously the observers are on board, they're recording, they're elated because they're being part of some wonderful piece of history as well. And yes, your stroke rate dropped, your speed dropped. Obviously, Padraig's managing tides and navigation through it all. Do you recall that feeling of a bit of a slump? And it happens in every swim, and it's how you pick
Yeah.
up out of it again.
For
How were you
sure.
feeling at that stage?
Yeah, that was definitely, you know, the second half on the way back was hard for me. You know, up until that point, you know, it had been kind of windy, so the lion's manes were down further, and so I hadn't been really seeing too many of them. I was getting stung by, you know, other things that are in there, but I hadn't really seen the lion's manes. And then we made the turn, and it, you know, the water was like glass. It was beautiful, but then all of a sudden the lion's manes are up, right? And they are on the surface, and you know, I'm swimming over gigantic, huge jellyfish, right? And it really messed with me. I was getting stung like just repeatedly over and over. And it just kind of demoralized me. I was starting to feel the effects of the cold. You know, I think you guys were all on the side of the boat kind of guiding me around some of the jellyfish, but I remember like I hit one straight on with my face. And I thought like, this is it. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I remember being quite whiny. And I do remember there was a couple of feed stops, and Ryan's like, do you want a warm feed? Like, do you think that might help you? And I'm like, no, I'm fine. I don't need it. You know, like just typical defiant swimmer. And then finally he just sent it down, right? He sent me down something warm. And then shockingly, I felt better, you know, and you know, it's a lesson, right? Listen to your crew. They can usually tell you a little bit more what you need than what you think you do. But it was like that second half coming back was just really brutal. And again, I don't think I was fully committed to going the whole way. So I was looking for excuses. You know, it was not a good part of the swim for sure.
Yeah. And slowly, as a result of that, yes, things picked up. Daylight was coming, the dawn had broken. We had a lovely sunrise.
Yeah.
And you know how popular you are and how the world watches the tracker. We couldn't, you know, the response rate was amazing. Poor Evan had to set up a double tracker for you because the traffic was that high. And the questions were being answered. People were, we got you. Yeah,
they were back. Sorry.
It's really happening. It's really happening. You know, history was being made. So I suppose, yes, after that trough, we had a wonderful climb up to sort of the climax of the finish for you. So things started to improve for you. You were feeling that, and your performance again, as I said, picked up. It's good to just talk it up through and recall. It's almost like living it when we go through these interviews. You're like, you're talking it.
Yeah, I know. It was really fun. Yeah. I do. I remember at some point, and I know it was kind of in the, you know, the back half of the swim, Padre came back. And I never remember exactly what he said to me, but it was like, basically keep going, you know, like, you've got it. Don't you dare quit. Like, and it was truly like what I needed to hear in that moment. And I think that it was after that was like my first time where I'm like, okay, I'm fully committed to this swim. And, you know, like I've gotten this far, like no matter what happens now, like I'm in it, you know, like I'm not gonna quit now. I've come too far. It did help a little bit. I think the water got a touch warmer as we got back towards Scotland. And so, you know, I wasn't feeling quite as cold. The jellyfish were kind of leaving me a little bit more alone. And I really could just, all right, we're in it, you know, like no matter what happens, we're gonna finish it now. So quit your whining, just put your head down and start swimming. Right. And, you know, it took me how long? It took me what, 18 hours to get to that point. But you know, we got there eventually.
And it turned out that your timing was pretty bang on to utilize the tides, the best parts of both sides of the tides. which was a stroke of luck in one aspect, but a testament to your ability for swimming. You know, it's quite unbelievable for the speed that you had on both ways, which was just amazing to be part of it, to be beside a swimmer like yourself, on no matter a one way, you know, never even mind a two way. So, the end of the swim is all a blur to me, and I don't know if it is to you or not, but yeah, how did we end up anyway?
I don't know. We ended on a beach. That's what I remember, which was brilliant.
Yeah.
I do
Two
remember
beaches
there
like
was a
that,
point.
you made a lot of people jealous. Two beaches, like a beach at your start, and
Yeah. Like, how did that happen? I don't know. You know, I didn't get any beaches in the English Channel, so I felt like I was due for some sand.
on out of it. Oh.
Yeah.
Well, she's walking perfectly well.
And what, like, when you went onto the beach, I don't. What did you feel, or what emotions were going through your mind, or?
You know, relief. Like, okay, we did it. You know, I don't know. It's one of those things in all of my swims. I feel like I'm super delayed and like feeling excited about them. It's like when they're done, I'm just like so exhausted and so spent that like you're on the beach and it's like, whew, I wonder how long it's going to take until these jellyfish stings start to really hurt. You know, I think that was the immediate thought was like, oh boy, I am in trouble. You know, I am covered from head to toe with jellyfish lashes. Like, what is going to happen next? I think was probably my biggest next thought.
Um, how do you deal with tiredness, or how do you stay alert and awake and doing all those long swims that you've done?
I don't know. I think, you know, this one relatively was short.
Yeah,
Um, but you know, I do think just I'm not very good at sleeping anyway. And so I always tell people that not sleeping is my superpower. Because I just, you know, I tend to still be pretty alert throughout long stuff like this, overnight swims. I don't drink a ton of caffeine in my day-to-day life. So when we start mixing in just a little bit with my feeds, like it perks me right up. And so I don't know, you know, even in this swim, I felt like I wasn't especially like sleepy. You know, physically I was obviously very tired, but like as far as being like drowsy, like I was awake, I was ready to go. Maybe it was the jellyfish stings, keep it the adrenaline.
So after the swim, like how many days or weeks, or when did it start sinking in, you know, what you actually had achieved on the North Channel?
You know, I think it was probably, you know, about a week or so. You know, I swam and then we got, you know, back and showered and all that stuff. And I had to get on a plane within like 12 hours. So it was like this huge rush of like, okay, the swim is finished. We have to pack, you know, to catch a plane to go back home. And then it's like, oh man, I got to go back to work. I've been off work for a little while. I have so much to catch up on. So some of that, like immediately after the swim was just kind of a blur. And then I think it was, you know, once things kind of settled down and I got back into just like my normal routine, and it was like, wait a second, that was actually like a pretty big deal, you know? And I would 100% put that swim as one of the hardest that I've done. It's up there with the English Channel 4-way, just in the like mentality that it took to like get through it, right? And the, you know, the physical pain of the jellyfish stings and the cold water. You know, I think the North Channel double and the English Channel 4-way, like in my mind, like those two swims are very comparable as far as like effort and skill and like having to have like the perfect team, right? Like, I mean, you nailed the tides, right? That's, you know, you're giving me credit for being a good swimmer. That was 100% on your end. You know, if we hadn't had that perfect plan, like it never would have happened. And so you just, when you start thinking of like all the things that could have gone wrong, or, you know, the timing that could have been off, or the weather we could have hit, like it's kind of an incredible thing, you know, and you can't think about that in the moment, right? Because if you start thinking too big about things, you lose sight of your purpose. But it was, you know, like a couple of weeks later, I'm like, maybe I should think about what I just did, because that was pretty neat.
Yeah. I recall having a chat with Billy Wallace, who is the president of the Irish long distance. Very, very old guy that has been around swimming since the start of the North Channel and whatever. Yeah, and a couple of the pilots, we were all just sitting around. I hadn't been a pilot, or I think I actually had maybe piloted 1 or 2 swims at that stage, still learning the ropes. And the two-way conversation came up, you know, and it'll never be done, it's impossible, and not in my lifetime. And you know, and then Sarah comes across and basically makes all those gentlemen sit up and take notice of what you achieved. It was pretty colossal, you know.
And we had champagne on the jetty, which was exciting, and then newspapers, and there was quite a little bit of a sort of celebration immediately after you came back to shore. I think for me, one of the, obviously, that we had done it, and then a few weeks later you had posted on social media about these pair of earrings, and for me it was like, someone has made a pair of, we didn't get the 8, but we got this beautiful vase shape, and it was like, we really did it, you know. Someone made a pair of earrings for Sarah Thomas for her swim route, you know? And that was a realization of that dream had come true, you know. Yes, okay, a little bit of a coercion, and maybe would you think about it? No, leave it alone, it's not a good time, come back. Amy, Sarah's gunning for it. Amy, obviously great friend, and there as a confidant as well. So yeah, it was the earrings, and then it was the Guinness World Record certificates then had kind of come shortly after that. So, those were two another more celebratory moments.
And even these chats here with the likes of yourself and all the swimmers, like it's a form of celebration for us as well, because sometimes during the summer the one swim rolls into the next and next, and next minute the summer's over and you're going, what actually happened there? And
right, this
has been a great way for us to reflect and celebrate everyone's swim, be it successful or not. And for us to have the opportunity to have a swimmer of your quality with us, we were very chuffed.
Absolutely. Did you wear the earrings? Have you worn the
well, that's actually a really long story.
Go on.
I know. So I had to get my ears re-pierced because at some point all my earring holes closed in. And so I went to wear them one day, and like I literally couldn't get them in. And so it took me, I don't know, I only redid it like in October. So it was like 1.5 years so that I haven't been able to wear earrings. And so hopefully now I've got them redone, so I can wear my earrings now.
Pop me a text when you do wear them.
Okay, I will.
In a collector's box somewhere.
Yes, they're out, they're ready to go. But yeah, no, I've never actually been able to wear them. It's terrible.
No,
I went to put them in, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm stuck.
You will wear them.
Yes.
One thing I
Yes.
would like to ask, just for other swimmers as well, what is your feeding or nutrition like during your swims?
Yeah, that's a good question. I have been basically doing the same thing for the last decade, and I think it works. And so I feel pretty, I like to tell people about it because people do crazy things.
Yeah.
Like I work with swimmers and I'm like, what are you doing? Um, so I know everyone is different, everyone has different nutritional needs, but basically what my feeding regimen is I stop every 30 minutes. And it's the same mix of everything the whole way across. And I try to consume right about 200 calories every hour, so about 100 calories every 30 minutes when I'm stopping. And that's in the form of like a maltodextrin powder. And then a little bit, just a touch of protein, not very much, just a little bit, and then electrolytes. So I drink about 8 ounces of liquid that has 100 calories, a couple grams of protein and electrolytes pretty much the whole way through. Yeah, and I just stick with it.
So you mentioned you got Ryan made your warm coat drink. Do you normally take your drinks cold or natural temperature?
Yeah, just yeah, usually they're just whatever temperature it is. Like room temperature, sea temperature, I don't know, whatever the air temp is fine. If it's a super hot swim, it's nice to get some ice in it so it is a cold drink. And then if it's cold, it's nice they just warm it up. They don't change anything to it. They just add hot water.
Yeah.
And then it's good to
And
go.
did you take any antihistamines before your swim for the jellies? Yeah.
Yep, I did. That was something Amy turned me on to. So about probably a week ahead of time, I was taking some antihistamines to kind of like prep my body. We had some on board in case I did have a reaction, but didn't have any true negative reactions other than just like standard jellyfish sting pain,
Yeah.
which was lucky. I wasn't sure. I was nervous.
Last question for me is we're asking all the swimmers one piece of advice you would give your former younger self before you started all this crazy stuff, now that you've
Oh,
all
man.
this knowledge.
Let's see here. Start sooner. I didn't discover open water swimming until I was 25, I think. And if I could go back and do it again, I would have totally gotten into open water swimming, in my teens. I just feel like I missed out on a lot of fun that I could have been having. But yeah, don't be afraid to like take that first step. Don't be afraid to start. Just go for it.
Thank you. I think Ryan is a good example of that.
Yes.
Now.
Yes, I know. Isn't it
Ironman,
crazy?
triathlon, yeah,
Yeah,
and a
yeah.
lot of course swimming, I believe also now a little more distance.
Yeah, he's working on it. We might be twisting his arm into some long swims here. We'll see what happens.
So we're trying.
He doesn't like to take advice from the likes of me.
It's normal.
Yeah. Sarah, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure to relive your channel journey with us on the deep end.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been fun. I haven't talked about the North Channel in a while, so that was some good memory.
Yeah.
And we talked with Amy. She mentioned about the antihistamines. We talked with Kevin Murphy about the two-way. So things like that were leading up to like, oh, we need to interview Sarah, and here we are. So thank you.
Yeah, of course. It was my pleasure.
Thank you so much, and congratulations again on being the first person to do the North Channel 2 ways. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.